Dr. Lisa Martinez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she stepped out of the research pod. The hot air of Kepler 440 hit her face like a blast from an oven. She'd been working for 6 hours straight, collecting samples from the strange ruins that covered this part of the planet. The ancient structures looked like nothing she had ever seen before. They were made of some kind of crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. "Any luck down there, Lisa?" Captain Jake Sullivan's voice crackled through her helmet radio. Was back on the ship, watching her progress from the bridge of Neptune's Pride. "Something big, Jake," Lisa replied, her voice shaking with excitement. "These aren't just ruins. I think something is still alive down here." Lisa had been studying alien life forms for 15 years. She had traveled to dozens of planets, looking for signs of life beyond Earth. Most of the time, she found only dead rocks or simple bacteria. But this planet was different. The readings she was getting made no sense according to everything she knew about biology. The crystal structures around her were arranged in perfect patterns. They formed circles and lines that stretched for miles across the desert landscape. Some were as tall as skyscrapers, others were small enough to step over, but they all shared one thing in common. They were all humming with a soft, musical sound that seemed to come from deep inside the crystal itself. Lisa knelt down next to one of the smaller structures. She placed her gloved hand on its surface and felt a gentle vibration. The crystal was warm to the touch, much warmer than it should have been under the planet's twin suns. She pulled out her scanner and pointed it at the crystal. The readings made her heart race. "Jake, you need to see this," she said into her radio. "These crystals aren't just rocks. They have organic compounds inside them, complex ones. I think they might be alive." "Alive?" Jake's voice carried a note of concern. "Are you sure? Our orbital scans didn't show any life signs." "Your scans were looking for carbon-based life," Lisa explained. "This is something completely different. The crystals seem to have their own kind of biology. Silicon-based maybe, but with quantum properties I've never seen before." Lisa stood up and looked around at the crystal field that stretched to the horizon. There were thousands of the structures, maybe millions. If they were all alive, this could be the most important discovery in human history. But something about the scene made her feel sad. Many of the crystals were cracked or broken. Some had fallen over and were lying in pieces on the ground. As she walked deeper into the crystal field, Lisa noticed that the humming sound was getting weaker. The crystals near the center of the formation were dimmer than the ones at the edges. Some were barely glowing at all. It looked like whatever lived here was slowly dying. Lisa stopped in front of the largest crystal structure. It was shaped like a tree, with branches that reached up toward the sky. But unlike the others, this one wasn't humming. It was making a different sound, almost like crying. The glow inside it was flickering like a candle in the wind. "Hello," Lisa said softly, feeling foolish for talking to a rock. "Can you understand me?" The crystal tree stopped making noise. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, slowly, patterns of light began moving through the crystal. They looked like rivers of liquid fire flowing through the branches. The patterns were complex and beautiful, changing faster than Lisa could follow. Lisa pulled out her translation device. It was designed to analyze patterns and try to find meaning in alien communications. She had used it on dozens of worlds, but it had never found anything more complex than simple animal calls. This time was different. The device beeped and displayed text on its screen. "Greetings, small warm one. You speak in sounds, but I hear your meaning. I am Zephin, last of the Crystal Singers." Lisa's hands were shaking as she read the message. First contact? After centuries of searching, humanity had finally found intelligent alien life, and she was the one making the discovery. "My name is Lisa," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm from a planet called Earth. I study life forms from different worlds." The light patterns in the crystal tree became brighter. "Earth," the translation device displayed. "I do not know this world. Are there many of your kind?" "Yes," Lisa replied. "Billions of us. We've been looking for other intelligent life for a long time." "Billions," the message read. "So many. My people were once many as well. Now I am alone." Lisa looked around at the dying crystal field with new understanding. What happened to your people? The light patterns in Zephyr became slower and dimmer. The plague came from beyond the stars. It eats at our quantum structure, breaking the bonds that hold our consciousness together. My people have been dying for 3,000 of your years. I am the last. Lisa felt tears forming in her eyes. She was looking at the end of an entire civilization. I'm so sorry. Is there anything that can be done to help you? The old stories speak of a miracle cure. Zephyr's message appeared on her screen. A crimson essence from a young race that could heal our kind. But it is only legend. No such thing exists. Lisa's mind raced. Crimson essence. Could that mean blood? She thought about human blood and its unique properties. Humans had evolved on a world with heavy radiation and constant viral threats. Their immune systems were incredibly complex compared to most Earth species. Zephyr, she said carefully, what if the crimson essence isn't a legend? What if it's real? The crystal tree began to glow brighter. You speak of hope, small warm one. But hope has been dead among my people for longer than your species has existed. But what if I told you that my people have crimson essence? Call it blood. Every human has it flowing through their body. The light patterns in Zephyr exploded into brilliant colors. The crystal tree began to sing, not the sad crying sound from before, but something that sounded like pure joy. The translation device struggled to keep up with the rapid changes in the aliens' communication. Blood, the message finally appeared. Life force in liquid form. Yes, this matches the old descriptions perfectly. But could it truly work? Could your essence save what remains of my people? Lisa activated her radio to call Jake. Captain, I need you down here immediately, and bring Dr. Chen with you. We're about to make history. What kind of history? Jake's voice was tense. The kind that changes everything, Lisa replied. I've found a dying alien who might be saved by human blood. And if we can save him, he might have technology that could change our entire civilization. While she waited for Jake and the medical team to arrive, Lisa continued talking with Zephyr. The alien told her about his people's ancient civilization. They'd been healers, traveling between stars to cure diseases and repair damaged worlds. Their crystal cities had been centers of learning, where hundreds of species came to share knowledge. But the plague had changed everything. It attacked the quantum bonds that held their crystalline consciousness together. One by one, the crystal singers had faded away until only Zephyr remained. I had been keeping himself alive through pure willpower, hoping against hope that somehow his people might be saved. When Jake and Dr. Chen arrived at the crystal field, they found Lisa sitting next to the alien tree, deep in conversation with patterns of light. The translator device was working constantly, displaying an ongoing dialogue between human and alien minds. Lisa, Jake said as he approached, please tell me you haven't promised this thing anything we can't deliver. Lisa looked up at her captain with eyes bright with excitement and determination. Jake, this alien's people were the most advanced healers in the galaxy. If we can save him, he might be able to share that knowledge with us. Imagine what we could do with medical technology that's thousands of years ahead of ours. Dr. Chen was already scanning the crystal tree with her medical devices. The readings are incredible, she said. This thing has a neural network more complex than anything we've ever seen. And Lisa's right about one thing. It's definitely dying. Jake looked at the dying alien, then at his crew, then back at the crystal tree. He knew that whatever decision he made in the next few minutes would echo through human history forever. All right, Zephyr, he said to the alien. Let's see if human blood really can work miracles. Dr. Amy Chen opened her medical kit with steady hands, but Jake could see the excitement in her eyes. She had been a doctor for 20 years, but nothing in her training had prepared her for this moment. Taking blood from a human to save an alien life was not covered in any medical textbook. Are you sure about this, Captain? Amy asked as she prepared the blood collection equipment. We have no idea how your body might react to whatever process this alien uses. Jake looked at the crystal tree that housed Zephyr. The alien's glow had grown even dimmer in the past hour. The light patterns that moved through his crystalline body were slower now, like a heartbeat that was gradually stopping. I'm sure, Jake said firmly. If there's a chance we can save him and learn from his people's knowledge, we have to try. Lisa continued her conversation with Zephyr through the translation device. The alien was explaining more about the plague. That had destroyed his civilization. It wasn't like any disease humans knew. Instead of attacking living tissue, it broke down the quantum connections that held the Crystal Singer's consciousness together. Zephyr says that human blood has something. His people call quantum markers, Lisa explained to the others. These markers can rebuild the connections that the plague destroys. But he needs to analyze the blood first to make sure it will work. Amy drew 3 vials of blood from Jake's arm. The captain didn't flinch as the needle went in. He had been through worse during his military service. But this was different. His blood might save an entire species, or it might kill him. There was no way to know until they tried. How do we give this to him? Amy asked, holding up the vials. It's made of crystal. He doesn't have veins or a mouth. The light patterns in Zephyr grew brighter as he heard the question through the translator. I will create an interface chamber. His message appeared on Lisa's device. It will allow me to analyze the essence safely. The ground around the crystal tree began to change. Now the sand and rock moved aside as new crystal formations grew up from beneath the surface. Within minutes, a small chamber had formed next to Zephyr's base. It was just big enough for the blood vials and had a smooth crystal platform inside. Place the crimson essence on the platform, Zephyr's message read. I will begin the analysis. Amy carefully placed 1 vial of Jake's blood on the crystal platform. As soon as the glass touched the crystal surface, something amazing happened. The entire chamber began to glow with soft blue light. Thin streams of energy reached out from the walls and surrounded the blood vial. Through the clear crystal walls, they could see the blood itself beginning to glow. It wasn't just reflecting the light from the chamber. The blood was producing its own light, as if each drop contained tiny stars. Incredible, Lisa whispered. The alien technology is interacting with Jake's blood at the molecular level. Zephyr's main body began to pulse with renewed energy. The light patterns racing through his crystalline form became faster and brighter than they had been since Lisa first found him. The translation device was beeping constantly as messages poured through. It is true. The old legends were real. Your essence contains the quantum signature we need, but there's more. Your blood has properties that exceed even our ancient stories. It does not just heal, it makes us stronger. Jake felt a strange tingling sensation in his arm where Amy had drawn the blood. It wasn't painful, just different, like electricity was flowing under his skin. What's happening to me? He asked. Amy quickly scanned Jake with her medical devices. Your cellular regeneration is accelerating, she said with amazement. The spot where I drew blood has already healed completely, and your immune system activity has increased by 300%. The connection has begun. Zephyr's message appeared. Your essence calls to mine across the quantum void. We are becoming linked. Lisa's eyes went wide. Linked, what does that mean? To fully cure the plague, I must create a temporary bond with the source of the healing essence. Your captain and I will share life force for a brief time. It is the only way to completely remove the quantum corruption from my matrix. Jake stepped forward without hesitation. How long will this bonding take? 12 of your hours, Zephyr replied. During this time you will experience visions of my peoples. History. I will experience what you call human emotions and memories. The sharing will allow my quantum structure to rebuild itself using patterns from your biological matrix. Amy grabbed Jake's arm. Captain, this is incredibly dangerous. You don't know what sharing consciousness with an alien might do to your brain. And we don't know what will happen if we let the last member of an advanced civilization die when we could have saved him, Jake replied. Some risks are worth taking. Engineer Pete Williams had been quietly setting up recording equipment around the crystal chamber. If we're going to do this, we need to document everything, he said. This could be the most important scientific event in human history. Lisa was already taking readings with every scanner they had brought. The energy output from Zephyr has increased by 500% since he analyzed Jake's blood. Whatever is happening, it's working. Navigation Officer Ryan Torres was monitoring their ship's sensors from a portable unit. Captain, I'm detecting some unusual readings in space around the planet. It looks like we might have company soon." "What kind of company?" Jake asked. "Unknown. But there are at least 6 ships approaching our position. They're using propulsion technology I've never seen before." Zephin's light patterns became agitated. "Word travels fast through quantum space. Other survivors of allied species have detected my recovery. They come to witness the miracle or to claim the healing essence for themselves." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "Are we in danger?" "Not if the bonding succeeds," Zephin replied. "But if it fails, if I die during the process, some of the approaching species may decide to take your blood by force. They have been searching for a cure to their own plagues for millennia?" Jake looked around at his crew. These people had followed him across the galaxy, trusting his judgment even when the mission seemed impossible. Now he was asking them to trust him one more time, with stakes higher than any of them had ever imagined. "Listen carefully, all of you," Jake said. "If this bonding process goes wrong, if something happens to me, I want you to get back to the ship and return to Earth immediately. Don't try to rescue me. Don't try to negotiate with the aliens. Just go home and tell them what we learned here," Captain Amy said. "I won't leave you." "That's an order, Doctor," Jake replied firmly. "The knowledge we've gained here is too important. Humanity needs to know about Zephin and his people's technology. Promise me you'll get that information home." One by one, his crew members nodded. Their agreement, though none of them looked happy about it. Zephin had been listening to their conversation. "Your loyalty to each other is remarkable," his message read. "My people had forgotten such bonds existed. Perhaps that is why we were unable to survive the plague on our own. We had become too isolated, too focused on individual survival." The alien began to reshape his crystal chamber, creating a larger space that could accommodate Jake during the bonding process. "Captain of the Warm Ones, are you ready to save my species and perhaps change the fate of yours?" Jake stepped toward the chamber. The tingling sensation in his arm had spread throughout his body now. He could feel something changing inside him, as if his very cells were preparing for what was to come. "I'm ready," he said, as Jake entered the crystal chamber. The last thing he heard was Amy's voice calling out readings from her medical scanner. His brain activity is off the charts, heart rate steady, blood pressure normal, whatever's about to happen, his body seems ready for it. The chamber walls began to glow brighter, and Jake felt himself being lifted gently off the ground by invisible forces. The bonding with Zephin was about to begin, and with it, the next chapter in the relationship between humanity and the stars. Jake floated in the crystal chamber as waves of energy washed over his body. The sensation was unlike anything he had ever experienced. It felt like being underwater, but instead of water, he was surrounded by pure light that seemed to flow directly into his mind. Beginning consciousness merge, Dr. Amy Chen read from her scanner outside the chamber. Jake's brain patterns are synchronizing with something. Neural activity is increasing rapidly. Lisa watched the process with fascination and growing concern. Through the crystal walls, she could see Jake's body glowing with the same soft light that filled Zephon's crystalline form. Streams of energy connected the human captain to the alien, creating a bridge between two completely different forms of life. "How long has it been?" Pete Williams asked, checking his watch for the 10th. "Time in 5 minutes." "Only 30 minutes, Amy replied. "We have 11.5 hours to go." Inside the chamber, Jake's consciousness began to expand beyond his own body. At first, it was terrifying. He felt like he was falling through space with nothing to hold on to. Then, gradually, he began to sense another presence joining with his own thoughts. "Hello, Warm One." Zephin's voice echoed directly in Jake's mind, clearer than it had ever been through the translation device. "Do not fear the joining. I will guide you through the memories of my people." Suddenly, Jake was no longer in the crystal chamber. He stood in a vast city made entirely of singing crystal. Towers stretched toward a purple sky, each one humming with its own musical note. The combined sound of thousands of crystal structures created a symphony that filled Jake with peace and wonder. "This was our greatest city," Zephin explained, as they walked through streets paved with gems that sparkled like stars. "We called it Harmony for the music that never stopped." Here beings from 100 worlds came to be healed of injuries and diseases that their own science could not cure. Jake watched as alien creatures of every imaginable shape and size moved through the crystal streets. Some walked on legs, others floated through the air, and a few rolled along the ground like living boulders. But all of them looked healthy and content. My people were born to heal, Zephyr continued. We could see the quantum patterns that held life together. When those patterns were damaged by disease or injury, we could repair them. It was our gift to the galaxy. They entered one of the great crystal towers, and Jake saw Zephyr's people at work. The crystal singers looked like living jewels, each one unique in color and shape. They surrounded sick beings with rings of harmonic energy, singing complex songs that seemed to pull sickness right out of their patients' bodies. It was beautiful, Jake thought. You must have been very proud of your civilization. We were, Zephyr replied sadly. Perhaps too proud. We believed that nothing could threaten us because we understood life itself. We were wrong. The scene around them changed. The beautiful crystal city began to flicker and dim. The harmonious singing became discordant and strange. Jake watched in horror as some of the crystal singers began to crack and crumble. The plague came from the space between dimensions, Zephyr explained. It attacked the quantum bonds that held our consciousness together. Our healing abilities meant nothing against an enemy that destroyed the very foundation of our existence. Jake witnessed the slow death of an entire civilization.
Oh.
One by one, the crystal singers fell silent. Their great cities stopped humming. The aliens who had come for healing fled to other worlds, leaving the crystal singers to face their doom alone. For 3,000 years, I have watched my people fade away, Zephyr said. I kept myself alive through will alone, hoping that someday the ancient prophecies might come true, that a young race with crimson essence would appear to save us. Meanwhile, outside the crystal chamber, the situation was becoming more complicated. Ryan Torres had been tracking the approaching alien ships, and 6 of them had now entered the planet's atmosphere. They're landing about 5 miles from our position, Ryan reported. Different designs, different technologies. I think they're from different species. Lisa looked up from her instruments. Zephyr mentioned that other alien races were affected by similar plagues. They must have detected his recovery and come to investigate. Amy continued monitoring Jake's condition. His vitals are stable, but his brain activity is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's like he's processing information at 10 times the normal human rate. Is that dangerous? Pete asked. I don't know, Amy admitted. We're in completely uncharted territory here. Back in the shared consciousness, Jake was experiencing something that changed his understanding of what it meant to be alive. As Zephyr's memories flowed through him, he began to see life not as individual bodies and minds, but as patterns of energy connected across vast distances. You see it now, Zephyr said with satisfaction. Life is not separate. All consciousness is part of a greater pattern. This is why your blood can heal my people. Humans carry within them a quantum signature that strengthens the connections between all living things, but Jake was also sharing his own memories with Zephyr. The alien experienced human emotions for the first time. Feeling Jake's love for his crew, his determination to protect Earth, and his willingness to sacrifice himself for others. Remarkable, Zephyr mused. Your species is young, but you have something. My people lost long ago. You have hope that persists even in the face of certain defeat. And you have bonds with each other that make you stronger together than apart. As the hours passed, bonding process began to change both beings. Jake's body was absorbing some of Zephyr's quantum awareness, while the alien's crystalline matrix was being rebuilt using patterns from Jake's biological structure. Outside the chamber, Amy noticed the changes first. Jake's cellular regeneration has accelerated beyond anything medically possible. His immune system is not just stronger, it's completely different. And his brain scans show new neural pathways forming. Lisa was equally amazed by what was happening to Zephyr. The cracks in his crystal structure are healing. The light patterns are becoming more complex and brighter. Whatever they're sharing, it's working. But their wonder turned to concern when Pete pointed to the horizon. We've got company. 6 different alien vessels had landed in the distance. They were unlike anything humans had ever built. One looked like a living plant with metallic roots, another resembled a geometric sculpture that defied the laws of physics, and a third appeared to be made of pure energy held in the shape of a pyramid. Movement from all 6 ships, Ryan reported. Looks like they're sending representatives. They're all heading this way. Amy checked her weapon, though she knew it would be useless against technology thousands of years more advanced than Earth's. Should we try to contact them? Not yet, Lisa decided. Let's see what they want first. They might be here to help. Inside the bonding chamber, Jake and Zephan were aware of the approaching aliens. Through their shared consciousness, Zephan recognized some of the energy signatures. The Healers Alliance comes, Zephan explained to Jake. Species that were once allied with my people. Some may be friends. Others may see your blood as something to be taken by force. What should we do? Jake asked. We continue the bonding, Zephan replied firmly. It is almost complete. When it finishes, I will be fully healed, and you will carry within you knowledge that could transform your species. But more importantly, you will have proven that humans are worthy of joining the greater galactic community. Jake felt the truth of those words resonate through their shared consciousness. This wasn't just about saving one alien life. It was about humanity's place in a universe full of intelligent species. The decision he had made to offer his blood was changing not just his own fate, but the destiny of his entire species. As the 8th hour of bonding began, Jake could feel his consciousness expanding even further. He was beginning to understand technologies and concepts that were completely beyond human science. But he was also sharing something equally valuable with Zephan, was teaching the ancient alien what it meant to hope, to fight against impossible odds, and to never give up on those you care about. The approaching aliens were almost at their position now. Soon Jake and his crew would have to face representatives of species that had survived for millions of years. The bonding with Zephan was nearly complete, but the real test of humanity's worth was just beginning. The crystal chamber began to dim as the 12th hour approached. Jake slowly opened his eyes, but he was no longer the same man who had entered the bonding process. His eyes now held flecks of the same crystalline light that filled Zephan's form. When he moved, there was a new grace to his movements, as if he could sense the quantum patterns that connected all things. Jake, Dr. Amy Chen called out as the chamber walls became transparent. How do you feel? Jake stood up slowly, testing his balance. Everything around him looked different now. He could see energy patterns flowing through the air, connecting every living thing on the planet. Sensation was overwhelming, but not unpleasant. I feel like I can see the music that holds the universe together, Jake said softly. His voice carried new harmonics, as if he was speaking in more than one dimension at once. Zephan's crystalline form was now blazing with renewed life. The alien had grown larger during the bonding, and new crystal formations had sprouted around. His base, the plague that had been slowly killing him for centuries, was completely gone. The healing is complete, Zephan announced through the translation device. Though Jake no longer needed it to understand the alien's communications. I am whole again, thanks to the sacrifice of Captain Jake Sullivan and the courage of humanity. Lisa was taking readings as fast as her equipment could process them. Jake, your cellular structure has been fundamentally altered. You're still human, but you've gained abilities that shouldn't be possible. Your brain is processing information at incredible speeds, and your body is regenerating damage almost instantly. Before Jake could respond, the ground around them began to vibrate. The 6 alien ships that had landed nearby were approaching, and their representatives were finally arriving. The first alien to appear was unlike anything the humans had ever imagined. It looked like a tree made of liquid metal with branches that moved like arms and roots that allowed it to glide across the ground. Behind it came a being that seemed to be made of pure geometry, constantly shifting between different mathematical shapes. Next came an alien that looked like a jellyfish made of light, floating several feet above the ground. Following it was a creature that resembled a walking crystal, similar to Zephan, but with sharp angular features. The 5th being was the strangest of all, appearing to be made of compressed space itself, bending light around its form. the last alien to arrive, took a form that was almost familiar. It looked somewhat humanoid, but with silver skin and 3 arms. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English. I am Ambassador Kex of the Trelawney Unity, the silver being said. We have traveled far to witness this historic moment. The quantum resonance of a crystal singer being fully healed has echoed across the galaxy. Pete Williams had been working frantically to upgrade their communication systems, using technology that Jake somehow now understood. Captain, I've managed to create a multi-species translation matrix. Should be able to communicate with all of them now. The tree-like alien spoke first, its voice sounding like wind through leaves. I am Rootsinger, Vel of the Woodland Collective. Our people have suffered from a quantum rot similar to the plague that affected Zephin's kind. We have come to learn if the human essence can heal us as well. The geometric being shifted into the shape of a perfect cube before speaking. I am Logic Form 7742 of the mathematical realm. Our calculations indicate that human biology contains properties that could revolutionize healing across dozens of species. We wish to study this phenomenon. One by one, the other aliens introduced themselves and explained why they had come. All of them had heard about Zephin's healing through quantum communication networks that humans didn't even know existed. Some were seeking cures for their own people's diseases. Others wanted to understand how a young species like humanity had accomplished what advanced civilizations could not. Jake found that he could understand not just their words, but their intentions and emotions. The bonding with Zephin had given him the ability to read the quantum patterns that revealed the truth behind any being's communications. They're all genuinely here to learn, Jake told his crew quietly. None of them mean us harm, but they're also amazed that we succeeded where their science failed. Lisa stepped forward to address the assembled aliens. My name is Dr. Lisa Martinez. I was the first to make contact with Zephin and discover that human blood could heal him. We're honored by your presence, but we need to understand what this means for our species. Ambassador Kex moved closer, its 3 arms gesturing in what seemed to be a sign of respect. Dr. Martinez, what you have accomplished will be remembered across the galaxy for millions of years. A young species showing such wisdom and compassion is extraordinarily rare. The crystal being who called itself Resonance Keeper Tau added its own observations. Most young races we encounter are focused on conquest or self-preservation. You offered your life essence to save a dying stranger. This action demonstrates a level of evolved thinking that typically takes species millions of years to develop. Rootsinger Vel's branches rustled with what seemed like approval. The Woodland Collective has observed many species throughout their development must fail to survive their own aggression. Those that do survive usually become isolated and suspicious of others. Humanity appears to be different. Jake was beginning to understand the true significance of what had happened. Through his bond with Zephin, he could sense the vast network of civilizations that existed throughout the galaxy. Most of them were ancient, advanced, but also stagnant. They had stopped growing, stopped taking risks, stopped hoping for anything better. Zephin, Jake said, turning to his bonded partner, tell them about the hope you experienced through our connection. Zephin's light patterns became complex and beautiful as he began to communicate with the other aliens. Jake could follow the conversation now, understanding the quantum language that flowed between the crystalline beings. During our bonding, Zephin explained, I experienced something my people had forgotten. The human captain shared with me emotions and thoughts that we crystal singers abandoned long ago. Hope in the face of impossible odds. Loyalty that transcends self-interest. The willingness to sacrifice for others without expecting reward. Logic Form 7742 shifted into a spiral shape, which Jake somehow knew indicated deep thought. Are qualities that the mathematical realm eliminated from our society millions of years ago. We deemed them inefficient and counterproductive to logical advancement. And yet, Ambassador Kex observed, it was these very qualities that enabled humanity to succeed where our advanced science failed. Perhaps there is wisdom in what we chose to discard. Dr. Amy Chen had been quietly monitoring the conversation while keeping track of Jake's medical readings. "Captain, your neural activity is still off the charts. What exactly are you understanding from all this?" Jake looked at his crew with eyes that now saw far more than any human should be able to see. "I'm understanding that we've just changed the course of galactic history. These species represent some of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. They've been stagnant for millions of years, focused only on maintaining what they have." He gestured toward the assembled aliens. "But our willingness to risk everything to save Zephyr has reminded them of something they lost long ago. The courage to grow, to change, to hope for something better." Resonance Keeper Tall's crystalline form began to sing, a sound that was both beautiful and sad. The Crystal Singers were once like humans. We took risks, we explored, we reached out to help others. But over time, we became too careful, too focused on preserving ourselves. We lost the very qualities that made us great healers. Rootsinger Vell's branches drooped slightly. The Woodland Collective has made the same mistake. We became so focused on protecting our forests that we stopped planting new ones. We stopped growing. Lisa was beginning to understand the implications of what she was hearing. "You're saying that all of your advanced civilizations have become stagnant? That you've stopped progressing?" "Precisely," Ambassador Kex confirmed. "And now a young species has shown us something we had forgotten. The true advancement comes not from accumulating knowledge or technology, but from maintaining the courage to risk everything for the sake of others." The jellyfish-like being, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Its voice was like whispered music. "I am Dreamweaver Nyx of the Ethereal Collective. We have watched this encounter through the quantum realm. What we have witnessed today will be shared with civilizations across the galaxy. Humanity has earned something that very few species ever achieve." "What's that?" Jake asked. Though through his bond with Zephyr, he was already beginning to understand. "Recognition as a species worthy of joining the Galactic Council, Dreamweaver," Nyx replied. "And more than that. Recognition as teachers who can help ancient civilizations remember what it means to truly live." As the implications of this statement sank in, Jake realized that Lisa's simple decision to offer his blood to save a dying alien had just elevated humanity from an unknown species to one of the most important civilizations in the galaxy. 3 days after the bonding, Jake stood in a chamber that defied every law of physics he had once understood. The 6 alien species had worked together to create a meeting space that existed in multiple dimensions at once. The walls seemed to stretch infinitely in all directions, yet the room felt perfectly sized for the small group gathered inside. "This is impossible," Pete Williams whispered, as he watched mathematics itself flow like water across the transparent walls. "How can a room be bigger on the inside than the outside?" "With quantum engineering that's millions of years old," Jake replied. His bonding with Zephyr had given him an understanding of technologies that humanity wouldn't develop for millennia. They're folding space itself to create this chamber. Dr. Lisa Martinez was recording everything with equipment that the aliens had helped them upgrade. Her simple translation device had been transformed into a quantum communication matrix that could understand not just words, but thoughts and emotions across dozens of species. Ambassador Kex of the Trelawney Unity stood at the center of the chamber, its 3 arms moving in complex patterns that Jake now recognized as a formal greeting ritual. "Representatives of humanity," Kex announced. "You have been called here to receive the judgment of the Galactic Restoration Collective." "Judgment?" Dr. Amy Chen asked nervously. "Are we on trial?" Zephyr's crystalline form pulsed with gentle light. "Not trial. Warm ones. Recognition. What you have done has touched the quantum consciousness of civilizations across the galaxy. The collective has decided to offer humanity something that has been given to only 7 species in the history of the universe." Rootsinger Vell stepped forward, its metallic branches rustling with excitement. "For 3 million years, the Galactic Restoration Collective has searched for species worthy of joining our highest purpose. Most civilizations we encounter are too young, too aggressive, or too focused on their own survival to understand true wisdom. Logic form 7742 shifted into the shape of a perfect star. Our mathematical models indicated that it would take humanity at least 50,000 years to develop the emotional and spiritual maturity needed for membership in the collective. You have proven our calculations wrong. Lisa felt her heart racing. What exactly is the Galactic Restoration Collective? Dreamweaver Nyx floated closer, its jellyfish-like form shimmering with colors that had no names in human language. We are the healers of the galaxy, it explained in its musical voice. We travel to worlds that have been damaged by war, disease, or natural disasters. We repair ecosystems, cure plagues, and help species learn to live in harmony with their environments. Resonance Keeper Tal's crystal body began to sing, creating harmonies that made the quantum chamber resonate with beauty. But we have grown old and tired, the crystal being admitted. We have forgotten how to hope, how to take risks, how to believe that impossible things can become possible. Humanity has reminded us of these forgotten truths.
Oh.
Jake was beginning to understand the magnitude of what was being offered. Through his bond with Zephyr, he could sense the vast network of worlds that the collective protected and healed. There were millions of planets, billions of species, all connected by beings dedicated to preserving and restoring life throughout the galaxy. You want humanity to join this organization? Jake asked. More than join, Ambassador Kex replied. We want humanity to help lead it. Your species has demonstrated qualities that we have lost over millions of years of existence. Compassion that risks everything for strangers. Hope that persists even when faced with certain defeat. The ability to see potential where others see only problems. Amy stepped forward, her medical training making her focus on practical concerns. But we're so young compared to all of you. What could we possibly teach civilizations that are millions of years old? Rootsinger Vel's branches moved in what Jake recognized as laughter. Dr. Chen, you have already taught us more in 3 days than we have learned in the past 1,000 years. Have shown us that wisdom is not about age or technology. It is about the courage to care for others more than yourself. The reward they were being offered was beyond anything the human crew could have imagined. Zephyr began to project holographic images that showed the scope of what membership in the collective would mean. First, he saw vast libraries of knowledge accumulated over millions of years. Every medical breakthrough, every technological advancement, every solution to problems that humanity hadn't even encountered yet. The information was freely shared among collective members, meaning that diseases, aging, and even death itself could become things of the past for humans. Next, the images showed Earth itself being transformed. Collective technology could repair all the environmental damage humans had caused. Deserts could bloom with life again. Polluted oceans could be cleaned in days. The climate could be stabilized and perfected. But the most amazing part was what they showed next. Hundreds of new worlds, perfectly suited for human life, waiting to be colonized under collective protection. Humanity could spread across the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as healers and guardians of life. The collective will establish medical research stations throughout human space. Logic Form 7742 explained. Your unique biology, combined with our accumulated knowledge, will create healing capabilities beyond anything previously achieved. Pete was staring at the holographic displays, showing technology that seemed like magic. Faster than light travel, matter replication, energy shields that can protect entire planets, he whispered. This is everything humanity has ever dreamed of. But with one important condition, Dreamweaver Nyx added, all of this technology, all of this knowledge, all of these opportunities come with a responsibility. You must use them not for conquest or personal gain, but to help other species, as you helped Zephyr. Lisa nodded slowly, understanding the weight of what was being offered. You're asking us to become the healers of the galaxy, to dedicate our civilization to helping others. We're not asking Resonance Keeper Tal sang. We are hoping that humanity will choose to share their gift of compassion with the universe. Jake felt the bond with Zephyr strengthen as he considered the choice before them. Through their connection, he could sense the ancient alien's emotions. Zephon was not just grateful for his own healing. He was excited about the possibility of working alongside humans to restore hope to civilizations that had forgotten how to dream. What about Earth? Amy asked. What about the people back home who don't know any of this is happening? Earth will be protected under collective law, Ambassador Kex assured her. No hostile species will be allowed to threaten your homeworld. Your people will have time to grow and develop naturally, while those who choose to join the collective can begin the great work immediately. Jake looked at his crew, these brave humans who had followed him across the galaxy and witnessed the most important moment in their species' history. He could see the wonder in their eyes, but also the understanding of what this choice would mean. We'll need to return to Earth, Jake said finally. We need to share this decision with our people. This isn't something we can decide for all of humanity. Of course, Zephyr replied, his light patterns showing approval. But know that the offer will remain open. The collective has waited for 3 million years to find a species like humanity. We can wait a little longer, as they prepared to leave. The quantum chamber, Lisa realized that their simple mission to explore an alien world had become something infinitely larger. So they were returning to Earth not just as explorers, but as ambassadors carrying an invitation to join the greatest organization in the galaxy. The reward that Zephon had promised was beyond imagination, because it wasn't just about technology or knowledge or power. It was about purpose. Humanity had been offered the chance to become the healers they were always meant to be, to spread their gift of hope and compassion to every corner of the universe. Looking back at the crystalline form of Zephon, Jake smiled. The dying alien he had risked everything to save had given humanity something more valuable than any treasure. He had given them a destiny among the stars, a purpose that would define their species for millions of years to come. The journey home to Earth would be just the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure.